Hello, and welcome to the latest episode of the Advice Guru Later Life Lending podcast. It's the end of the year, so it must be award season time. So, Mr. Wilson and I have got some very fine people on the podcast today to talk about their award nominations. What do you think about that, Stu?
Oh, it's fantastic to have such a great lineup. I think we'll stay right at the start of the show. That we are delighted to be lined up alongside some of these fine people and some that we've already chatted to. But we're not here to talk about us today. We're here to talk about the experiences and the views, and the inputs, and the thoughts of our fine guests. So we're delighted to be joined by some previous winners of awards and some newbies as well. So it's nice to have a good mix today.
Yeah, absolutely. And we're going to be talking about two sets of awards today. We don't favour any in particular. So the AIR Awards 2024 and the British Later Life Lending Awards 2025. I guess my first question is, why aren't they both the same year? I guess that would help. So AIR, can you next year make yours the 2026? Because when you get the trophy and it's run out already, that's no good, is it? So yeah, my first request. What does everyone think about the two awards being in January then? And is everyone looking forward to it?
Yes, absolutely. I mean, I'm delighted that what was the Equity Release Awards has now become the British Later Life Lending Awards. That for me feels like a significant step forwards for the whole industry. So yeah, really excited that we've got that, and I think AIR kind of have led the way. They introduced their Later Life Lending Awards a few years ago, and they're continuing with that. So it's great to have an industry that's now being recognised in two sets of awards.
Yeah, that's a really, really valid point. I know Mortgage Solutions were really proud to have renamed their awards just to make it more relevant to 2024 and 2025. Anyone else got any particular views on the awards? Sarah, I know you were nominated by one of your colleagues for this award, which is great.
Indeed, yeah. For me, it's a whole new journey. I've seen the awards pop up through, LinkedIn and advertisements, but it's never really anything that I thought I could be involved in. I certainly didn't know I could nominate myself. I'm still quite early in this journey as a broker support specialist. So yeah, it's very, very exciting and absolutely honoured to be included in that. Yeah, as David just said, I'm thoroughly aware of the Mortgage Solutions Awards and very much like that has been rebranded this year to kind of honour the industry and the work that everyone has put in, very much so.
Yeah, so Sarah, it's Sarah Yetton at Royal London, isn't it? So what do you do in your day-to-day job then?
So I'm a support specialist. I've probably been doing this for around 12 months now. It's a really, really new role for the business. I was an underwriter for 6 years with Royal London prior to that. And we found there was a niche little corner that we thought we could step into to offer brokers a one-on-one unique service that nobody else provides. No other point could you call up any other lender and speak to an underwriter at the first port of call. I'm competent, but my CMAF, my Sarah, and you can call me at any time of day. Do you have a problem? Do you have a complex case? Give it to me. That's what I'm gonna really, really good at. It's really, really juicy. Give it to me. Let's see what I can get done. We have a product that's across other lenders as well. Other lenders have said no, give it to me, I'll get it across the line. And it's providing that unique service to the brokers that I get to work for the customer, especially on those vulnerable cases or where, let's say, it's a complex scenario that you don't come across that often as an underwriter. But actually, I can get into the nitty-gritty of it a lot earlier and potentially get those pre-approvals for advisors before the applications even hit us.
Yeah, fab. John Harris, I'm going to come to you. What it's interesting, Sarah, talking about underwriting and a team of people who want to say yes. Maybe that's not the traditional view of underwriters. What do you think about that?
Yeah, my experience of what Sarah said then plays through as well with any inquiries that I've sent to her and to Royal London. I'll go out and say that I did vote for Sarah for that award. That might upset some of the people that I've got very good relationships in the industry. But that might stitch me up for next year. But
I'm honoured.
I'll get those votes in for them at a later time. But yeah, I think generally speaking, we're really lucky that when I use Air for my sourcing, and whenever you go through the inquiries section, you don't just get a yes or a no, you get quite a comprehensive answer. So yeah, we're really lucky to have that support, because having worked in mainstream mortgages for quite a long time, you can be twiddling your thumbs waiting for an answer for quite a long time. Whereas with that inquiry system, you kind of fire that inquiry off. And I find quite often that you do get really quick answers back. And then that just puts you in a much stronger position when you're sat in front of a client to manage their expectations.
Yeah, fab. Well, I can certainly see why Sarah's been nominated. It's interesting, Stu. On the podcast today, we've got a real good mixture of people who've been in the industry for a while, being nominated for several and won several awards, and newcomers. Why do you think we've got such a mix?
I think, well, one of the things that has led to that, I guess, and I'm going to take a tiny bit of credit for this, but it actually leads on to a question I want to ask a bit later, because I started the Air Awards when I worked at Key, and I've got to be honest, and I'll put my hand up and say I didn't have a Scooby-Doo what I was doing. I've never done an awards ceremony before, never organised one, never run one, and to say it was a baptism of fire is an understatement. But one of the things that we were really keen on when we did that was we wanted to try and recognise in our awards programme people that weren't generally recognised for awards, because lenders get awards, advisors get awards, but you don't generally get newcomers getting awards, or underwriters, or back office support people. So we built that into the Air Awards, and I'm glad to see they're still doing it. And I guess that's probably starting to feed through into some other awards programs as well. That it's the full gamut of people that support advisors on the journey, not just the lender that delivers the product or the advisor that gives the recommendation, but all the people that work behind the scenes as well, which is great to see.
That's a really good point. And we've got Kaitlyn Buxton from Pure Retirement on the podcast today. So Kaitlyn, tell us what you've been nominated for. Isn't it both sets of awards?
Yes, so I'm lucky enough to be nominated for both sets of awards, and it's really interesting that you just said that, Stuart, as well, because I'm actually nominated for the Best Newcomer Award with the Mortgage Solutions Awards as well. So I think this is the first year that this category has been included too. So definitely, I guess, taking a little bit of Air's book on that one to try and include different sets of people into the awards too. So definitely a step up, I guess. But then for the Air Awards, I'm in actually Sarah's category for Best Advisor Support from a Lender.
No, we've got a clap.
Yeah. No, it's nice to, because I've never spoken to Sarah before either, so it's nice to have that interaction as well, and obviously give a bit of a different point of view, I guess, because I'm a telephone BDM at Pure, so I work internally with everyone, so I work directly with the underwriting department. Bit jealous of your background in underwriting, but I definitely class myself as a bit of an underwriter now. I've been a telephone BDM for 2 years now. It just became 2 years December 1st. So definitely gives that little bit of extra support, knowing the industry a little bit more. I'm actually just going through for my CMAP qualification as well. So trying to get that little bit of extra knowledge and just be there as an extra support for advisors. So like Sarah said, advocating for the customer, trying to help brokers as much as possible, get those no's into yeses, and just doing that little bit extra just with the challenging environment that it is.
Love that. Yeah, really cool. Well, I don't know if we can get a joint award winner, but I think we better. Oh, actually, if you win the solutions one and Sarah wins Air, can we sort that out?
I'm sure it can be sorted.
Places, we're not rivals. Teammates.
No, exactly. Healthy competition.
I know how you feel, because I was on a podcast the other day when I was interviewing Jackie Berry from My Care Consultant, who are in the same category as advice gurus. So I was like, good luck, Jackie. Hope you win. No, I do genuinely, I wish everyone good luck, whoever's up against anyone else. One of the during the pre-chat, and like we said right at the beginning, we're agnostic in terms of awards. I love all the awards programs, and they're all different in their way. But one of the bits in the pre-chat, I think Peter, you mentioned it, was Air's awards are quite transparent, and you can kind of see a lot more of what's going on and how the winners are ultimately picked, or certainly how they got through to the shortlist. Is that important, do you think? Do we need more transparency in awards, or does it not matter that it's a lot of this is behind closed doors and you just don't get to see why or who, no, not who won, but why people won rather than the sort of mechanics behind it? Is that important, or does that not matter?
Oh, I think it's hugely important. It's a very good point to make, Stuart. From, you can just see from viewing Air's website, what stage the awards are at. I know there's always been a huge kind of shroud over what happens at the list, the Equity Release Awards as was. I know I've been a judge for far longer than I can remember on the Equity Release Awards, and we've always strived to make it more transparent. This year, both awards are becoming more and more transparent. Certainly, what I was delighted to see, again, still being a judge of the Extra Release Awards, is that they're now doing interviews as part of the very final process with the shortlisted few, which I was delighted to take part in last week. And I think that's a huge move forward for them, because I know historically that has always been, over the years, kind of concerns as to winners, as to whether people are block voting. I think that there's I think Ian Cartledge, who helps organise the Extra Release Awards at Mortgage Solutions, and has gone a long way to try and push back against that. So I think transparency is the key, and I think have led the way in that. And I do love their website and how it actually, just shows you stage by stage where you're at, and we can all see.
Yeah, no, that's a really good point. I think the transparency is key. I guess before we start talking to the more experienced award nominees and winners, I'm just going to ask Hayley about her experience. Hayley, you're up for the new advisor of the year at Air. Mm-hmm. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, I was pleased to be nominated. Again, I'm quite new to brokering and new to awards, so I was nominated. So wasn't really sure what it entailed, but was very flattered. I think I was nominated by somebody who nominated me for my kinds of commitment to wanting to learn more, for doing my CRA, my examinations in the later life, because I'm a mortgage broker and I do later life lending in terms of RIOs and retirement interest only, and I just wanted to give my clients a more solid kind of experience of later life lending and do the right thing for my clients. So yeah, it was my kind of commitment to, I really like what Air are doing in terms of the academy and giving me a really good basis, because you kind of do your exams and, as everyone knows, you just then left to it. And so I feel like the Air Academy is really giving me a solid basis so that I feel confident in my advice, that I'm doing the right thing. So I'm really glad that they're offering me that opportunity, and to have been nominated to kind of recognise the extra work that I'm doing for my clients.
Yeah. Fabulous. All right. Well, I do wish you luck in that award. Do you know who you're up against in the award?
I don't know. I probably should, because I'm so new and it's all names to me and who I'm against. So yeah, I just wish everyone good luck. They're probably a bit more experienced than me, so I'm just flattered really to be nominated and get this far.
Yeah, well, I'm just looking up. You've got Mike Jones, Mark Holden, and Chris Buda against you for New Advisor of the Year. We know Mike. Mike's a friend of the podcast, a Plymouth person, and I think he may have voted for Sarah. Is that
I believe right? He did. Another honour nomination along with John.
Yes, which is really cool. Okay, cool. So I'm going to start having a chat for what I regard as the guys on the call who perhaps have been around the award scene for a little bit longer. I think Dave, John, and Sam in particular. So, David, you've probably been up for awards for about 3 years now, haven't you?
Yes. This is the third year that we've reached a shortlist.
Fabulous. Which ones?
We are shortlisted for Best Small Advisory Firm in the Air Later Life Lending Awards this year.
You can't be small. You're huge. You're like Frank.
Well, there's only three of us that do later life lending. Yeah, there's just the three of us. So we are in later life terms, we are a small firm. It's the second time we've been shortlisted. We came away with a highly commended last year, which I was really chuffed with. And let's see if we can push forwards for a win. I think I think we've got a reasonably good chance because we are quite unique in this market. What we do primarily amongst sort of high net worth clients, Knight Frank sort of heartland is a lot of country homes and unusual properties and so on. And so we've had to adapt what we do and try and keep up with the evolution that's going on in the market at the moment. And that's been hard work this year. But yeah, we're doing great. We've got our fingers crossed. We're up against some fantastic competition, one of which is on the call today, and I wish him luck as well.
Bless. Well, we'll come to Sam. Thanks for that, David. I guess that my question about best small advisory firm, and my company won that award in its first year 2 years ago, which I was delighted about, but had COVID that night, which I didn't realise till the following day. Thought it was a hangover. Nah. So yeah, coming to you, Sam. So I guess first of all, congratulations. You've been nominated for both sets of awards, haven't you?
Yes, so we're in the AIR Awards and in the Mortgage Solutions Awards, both for Best Small Advisory Firm. So we'll be taking on good old David Forsdyke in the AIR ones.
Yeah.
Hopefully see him down there on the night.
Fabulous.
Good luck, Sam.
You too, mate. Did you say that through gritted teeth? Did you?
Yeah, I think you did.
No, not at all. Not at all. It's about recognizing the good stuff that's going on, to be honest. So I don't mind. I'll buy you a drink at the bar if you win it, and hopefully vice versa.
I love that. Well, Step Change Financial Solutions and Emerald Finance are also in the AIR Awards. And are you both in the Mortgage Solutions, did you say?
Yeah, so in Mortgage Solutions and also in the AIR Awards.
Yes.
For both, two completely different setups, really. There's some really good things that have changed within the Mortgage Solution Awards recently. I know David mentioned it before we started recording, but particularly the kind of name change, I think, is considerably more now reflective of what is the market. It's equity release is very outdated, and that's not really what any of us do, really. We are kind of later life lending specialists. There are too many different branches now for it to be just kind of purely categorized as equity release. So I think that's a really strong move. The AIR Awards kind of similarly, they don't have equity release in their title for the awards, which I think is a really good thing. I think one thing that AIR have done kind of extremely well over the last couple of years since it was set up is they have a long list and a short list. I think that's quite important as well. That's something that Mortgage Solutions are lacking a little bit. You can have firms who maybe don't make the short list for the Mortgage Solutions, but are still worthy of having their kind of name up in lights, I guess. And that's probably one thing that I think is a bit of a shame that Mortgage Solutions don't do. Similarly, Mortgage Solutions have stopped allowing anybody outside of the industry to vote. So you used to be able to ask clients for votes, which I thought was a really good thing because, if you can go to your client with a message and say, well, actually, we've been, help us with this award, then I would argue that a client vote is sometimes a little bit more representative of that company or that advisors or that nominees' worthiness of being in that category than some of the industry votes, which I guess sometimes can be a little bit political.
That's a really intriguing point, actually. But firstly, the bit you said about the long list, because Stuart, you and I had a conversation the other day, didn't we, about the fact that smaller brokers, there should be more smaller firms on long list because there are so many small firms in this industry.
Yeah. I listened to that podcast recently, and I agree wholeheartedly. With the AIR Awards for the small firms, there are loads on that short list. Because small firms now can just be one man or woman bands, and I think it's really powerful for that company or individual to be able to kind of put on an email footer or say to clients, actually, we were long listed for this award. And I think it just gives further confidence within, whoever they're dealing with, as opposed to having nothing to go back to at all. You could have, for example, either Knight Frank or ourselves or whatever, for all me and David know, we could have only been, one vote ahead of, somebody else. And is that shortlist, if it was just a shortlist at, the Mortgage Solutions, kind of reflective of, of the work that somebody else has put in and not necessarily. So I think I do very well with that. I think.
Yeah, it's a really good point. And I am in touch with the Mortgage Solutions team about, us doing these podcasts. So I think it's really valid feedback, and they will be listening to this. So I guess I'm going to go to John Harris now and just ask John about his evolution in awards, but also in 2025, Stuart Wilson and I have spoken a lot about how we open up awards to a wider group of people. So Hayley, Kaitlyn and Sarah are all first-time nominees. We want next year for 30%, 40% of advisors to be nominated, for underwriters to be nominated. So tell us a little bit about your journey from newcomer 2 years ago to one of the Advisor of the Year awards now, and how do you feel that could progress so that more people do what journey you've done?
Yeah, I mean, having spent a number of years in mainstream mortgages, you feel very much like a small part in a much bigger machine. Whereas what I noticed, and I think, the overriding kind of emotion with the Air Awards when I first went and I first got to meet a lot of the people that I hadn't previously met face to face, was just that you do feel part of something and you feel like you're making a contribution. And I think for all the things that we struggle with in our industry, breaking through, that is something that we've done really, really well. And you do feel like you're moving forward together. Whereas in the mainstream world, it just feels like you're individuals. And I'm personally someone that likes being part of a team. So that's something that's been really good. And I think we'll continue to set the bar with that really moving into next year.
Yeah, no, that's a really good shout, and congratulations on your nomination. I know you won Best Newcomer, and it's nice, really nice to see your evolution and see you're putting a cracking amount out of good quality stuff on your social medias at the moment. So is that been a conscious decision? What's changed about that?
Yeah, it is a conscious decision. It takes a lot of time. I feel like I'm one of those people. I've got a lot of stuff going on in my head, thinking about later life lending all the time, kind of thing. I'm got a family at home. I'm obsessed with football, and later life lending is like my third child, if you like. But I'm constantly thinking about it, and I think sometimes you forget how important it is to share ideas with other people, because of my previous experience, you kind of just assume that you're looking to everyone else for kind of guidance on what to do. And you don't realize that quite quickly. You can go from a newcomer of the year to be nominated for later life lending advisor of the year. And there are people in the industry that are just coming into it and want a bit of guidance. So I just feel that LinkedIn is a way that you can pass some of that knowledge on, to people three people that spring to mind, to be fair: David on the call, Stuart Borthwick and Mike Jones. It never feels like a competition. You just feel like you're just adding. The foundations have been laid by other people, like Stuart, with everything that's happened with Air and his namesake. And I think what we're doing is we're just building layers. And LinkedIn for me is one of those ways to do that. Leads are hard to come by in this industry. There's various ways to achieve them. And I feel that it's a bit of I'm testing the water really with LinkedIn. One, to get some information out there, but two, to see what that generates as well.
Good shout. Yeah, really good call. David, you've been name checked there. Going to come to you.
Thank you, Stuart. Yeah, I think John's made a really good point about the social media side. And I have to say, from my point of view, the awards is nothing but a positive thing. I'm honoured to have been asked to judge at the Mortgage Solutions Awards this year, and the interviews of the award nominees was mentioned, which was a new experience and a very valuable one. I'm not going to say anything about the awards. I can't. I'm sworn to secrecy, but it was nice to be involved in that process. But yeah, coming back to social media, this is all really positive, and I think win or lose, it's worth making a noise about the awards. It's worth making a noise about nominations, about making shortlists and so on, because that is all going to help raise the profile of what we do. Mortgage Solutions have moved from the Equity Release Awards to the Later Life Lending Awards, and that is a clear indication of the journey that we are on at the moment. We're in an industry that is changing and evolving and innovating. And for me, that's really exciting. And finally, today, I am old enough to take out the main product that I advise on. So
I'll give you a call, mate, after the podcast.
See,
Thanks,
and that's why he's the winner.
Happy
Well,
birthday.
congratulations, mate. Happy birthday. I'm
Thank you.
now wondering if you're 50 or 55. So,
I'll let you figure that one out for yourselves.
oh, bless you. Oh, well, no, good to see you, mate. Thanks for you to joining us on your birthday. So, yeah, thank you, mate. I'm going to go to Peter Barton here because we haven't spoken much about the legal side of things. Peter, one of the things that I've been really struck by in 2024 is just how good the later life conveyancers have been. And by that, I mean, in 2022, 2023, there are a lot of solicitors out there, all of which were pretty good, but everyone seems to have excelled this year. And that's things I hear, things I see. And anything in particular you would reflect on that? Obviously, you would say Barton have been the best of those, but why is your industry now just so at the top of its game?
I think it's been helped by a few new firms coming in. Competition always drives us all on to improve our own service.
Yeah.
And, we all get on very well together. We're all part of, the main firms are all part of the legal forum of the Equity Release Council. So we meet regularly. We'd all readily agree that we all learn from each other and copy each other to an extent. So we all operate, a relatively similar service. But I think it kind of brings me on to the one concern, if I'm allowed to say this, Stuart, for 2025. And I know the Equity Release Council and David Burrows himself is concerned about this. Is obviously, whilst we have plenty of competition in the borrower legal sector, obviously this year 2024 has seen or is seeing the departure of Connexco from the sector, and it very much looks like, and I have not seen the final ones, but Enact will be dealing with all of the lender legals, which I know Enact very, very well, and they're a very capable firm, of course, but it does obviously raise a few concerns for 2025 that, as we all hope, volumes will increase, but we don't want to see any creaking at the seams, do we? So I think that's an interesting one. And I know David Burns himself has said that his happiest time was when there were a few firms competing. And as Stuart Wilson will confirm, when Water Life had two firms on, David said we actually did better then. David Burns said we did better because we were driven to kind of compete against a firm that was called Optima. So 2025 will be an interesting one from that side. But for us as in borrow legals, I think we respect each other. I'm not saying as a few people, but I think that competition has helped improve the service.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And you've been nominated for both sets of awards, or is it?
Oh, Stuart, don't upset me. I wanted to be nominated in both. I've been shortlisted on the Air Awards, but again, I am always the bridesmaid. Didn't quite make it for the Equity Release Awards later, like the Lending Awards, but I will try again next year.
Bless you. Well, good luck in the outstanding legal services in later life lending. And I see it's Gilroy Steel, Equilaw, and you, and one lady. That's unusual. I've not seen that before. I thought it was firms, but an individual has been nominated in your one. So yeah, interesting. Good. So I guess my last question for everyone really, and it's something we've touched on a little bit, but I'm going to ask it to the three ladies who've been nominated for the first time. How do we in 2025 grow the amount of people who are nominating and are nominated for awards, and it's not seen as something elitist or closed to everyone? What sort of things do you think could be done by us all in 25?
I think a good idea would be to, because I think all three of us have mentioned it, we didn't realize that we could put ourselves up for it, or we could kind of promote ourselves before that happened. So even just maybe publicizing that to make it known that, if we feel that we've done a good job in advisor support, we could nominate ourselves, or, try to have that campaign before those actually happened. yeah, I'm sure the other two have something to say about that as well.
It's a great idea and a great point. By doing the podcast, we're trying to get messages out there. So yes, little plug, share the podcast, because we want more people to hear this, because you guys come up with great ideas on these podcasts. And if we can get more people listening to those, then hopefully we'll get more self-nominees. So yeah, great point, Kaitlyn. Thank you.
Yeah, I would say the same. This podcast's going to help. I think not knowing you can self-nominate. You see people up for awards, but it seems like you don't really know. It's a bit secret how people get entered. And also a bit of, thing that it is normal everyday people. You think these people are some sort of superstars in the mortgage or the later life lending, so especially as a newcomer where you don't know anyone or anything, it's really it would be just making awareness known that they exist and that anyone is, it's not these special elite group of people that can win awards. It's the everyday advisors too.
Yeah, that's a really good point. And yeah, only by talking about this more can we spread that message. So yeah, thanks, Hayley. Sarah, what were your thoughts?
Yeah, very similar. For me, I didn't know that these awards are something you could nominate yourself for, or even your own colleagues. I assumed that the awards delegated certain awards to fields that people could then nominate to, if it was something that was more potentially advertised to colleagues at firms in the initial instance. So yes, the Air Awards for next year are going to be starting at this time. Can we get some kind of advertisement out to all of the lenders, broker firms, that they can then distribute to their own colleagues? Is there somebody that you work with, or actually, like you say, you feel that you've come a long way in your own career, that you actually now feel like you're worthy of that award? I definitely think it's something that we should be advertising more.
Yeah. Well, I think we'll be getting those messages out there. Stu, what do you think?
Yeah, definitely. And the one thing that I would add to that, or the question that you posed, Stuart, I think I would encourage anyone that runs an award to be much more. We've talked a bit about transparency, and in terms of the nominations and voting, that's great. And I understand judging needs to be done in secret. That's obvious for obvious reasons. But it's a shame actually that more information isn't publicized after awards to say, right, this person won or this firm won, and here's why. And especially when people have been asked to put in submissions and papers, I think more should be done to publicize that, because it gives more transparency, but also perhaps it would encourage others to look at that and say, well, I did some of that, or I did just as good as that, so maybe next year I'll put in an application as well. So I think that could be one thing that we should encourage people to do. And maybe, I'm just going to blue sky here, but let's just say Advice Guru win one of the awards. I'm quite prepared to publicize the paper, the submission that we put in publicly. We'll put it on our LinkedIn so everyone can see it, and so what we said and why, and perhaps then why we won that award if we win. But I do think that would help with the transparency and increase the number of people their names in.
Okay, so how about we bring everyone on this call back in February to talk through your experience, and if you win, that would be really interesting. If you don't win, that might be a bit upsetting. But is everyone up? Welcome, win or lose. Okay, you're not up for that, and we can just do a following it through. I think that might be an idea. John Harris, what do you think about that?
Yeah, I'd be quite happy to come back, share my thoughts. Obviously, hopefully with a trophy behind me, that'd be lovely. Yeah, I just wanted to add to what Kaitlyn was saying there about also it's quite easy for people to overlook like the contribution that some people make as well. Sometimes, like we're all busy, we're all kind of cracking on with our daily lives, trying to write business, trying to do these various different things, and sometimes I'm really lucky at work where I've got two people, Shannon and Natalie, that help me, support me in my role. And I'm always quite vocal at work to, shout about what they do and how much they make my role a lot easier. I mentioned earlier about on the air inquiries and how much that helps, but they're real people behind these inquiries that we send in. And I think sometimes in this day and age, it's really easy to just scroll through things on social media or messages if we get back responses from underwriters. And I think it's really important to I always try and respond and go, thank you very much. And I wonder how many people actually do that and how many people actually put their head above the parapet and call out the people that make their job a lot easier. So it's really good that people are recognized for their contribution, because we're all trying to push towards the right thing. And if we didn't have that back office support from the lenders, it would make our jobs so much harder. So, yeah, I hope everyone that is an underwriter that responds to those inquiries realizes how much we value, well, certainly I do, value their role in making our jobs a lot easier. And hopefully in the future, we'll see more people being recognized for their contributions.
Yeah, it's a really great shout, mate. Really good. It's probably about 5 minutes to go on the pod now. So what I'm going to do is go to Sam for a comment, and then Stu's got a really cool question he wants to ask about 25. So Sam, say something controversial.
I'm always good for that. No, I think just kind of backing up really, just to kind of finish off really my thoughts on what Stuart said, what John's just said as well. I think, I can be controversial at times, but the awards are great, and they're a really good way to get recognition for what's been done in the industry. I think there's more now being done for the newer comers, if you like. I think each body could learn from each other. I think there's things that Air could learn from Mortgage Solutions. I think that there's things that Mortgage Solutions could learn from Air. The latest change this year was the fact that we had a face-to-face interview for the Mortgage Solution, well, face-to-face over Zoom, for the Mortgage Solution Awards. And I said to both you, Stews, on my podcast, I thought that was really good, because you can't chat GPT a Zoom call, which I think is really good. So I think Air would be good to kind of take that on board moving forward. I think from Mortgage Solutions point of view, I think one thing that would really, really go down well next year is they reintroduce the highly commended, if you like. So if you've got, 3-4 people up for the same award, it's kind of one of them wins and the rest are losers, I guess. I know that sounds a little bit kind of direct, but, that's it then. The other people get forgotten about. So I think if you've got kind of a highly commended, that would be a big step forward. I agree, Stuart, with what you were saying. There needs to be more publicity on why that company has won. A bit of a shameless plug from me, but late life retirement planning, me and my team, we've got 60 years experience between us, but late life retirement planning was only really incepted in January of this year. So although we're kind of new kids on the block, if you like, it's made up of old kids off the block. But that being said, because we are almost new kids on the block, we've had to do everything from scratch, design. And Stu, I know you've obviously seen this side of it because we work together under One Stop, but we've had to redesign fact find, suitability reports, additional advice processes, onboarding things, etc. And even if we weren't successful in either of the awards, I'm still absolutely massively proud of everything that we've achieved, and it would be good for other people within the industry to actually know exactly what we have done. And if I feel like that, then I guess, for example, John, Kaitlyn, if you two weren't, Peter, if you guys weren't successful in your award, you would still want people to know just how much you've done, this year, and be like, well, yeah, I didn't win, but, here's what I have actually done. So I think, again, this may sound a bit cliche, but I think, to get to a shortlist is an absolute achievement in itself. But let's not leave it there. Let's still have a really good, kind of discussion and publication about the people who were made up that shortlist, whether it's win, lose or draw. I think is the way that it should go moving forward. Not too controversial, I don't think. I think that was pretty tame for me, to be fair.
Not controversial at all. I've seen it done in other awards, and I think it works really well to see why people won, but also a bit more detail about other people that were on the shortlist as well. Because it just gives you a bit of inspiration and motivation, actually, if you were feeling a bit nervous about putting your name forward for an award, saying, well, actually, I could do that. So thanks.
I mean, not just that, we all learn from each other as well, so it may be that, Mike Jones, who's against you, I think, John, it may be that, Mike does something that you think, God, that's a great idea. But equally, it could be that there's something within your testimonial that Mike's not thought of, and he thinks, oh, that's a great idea. The industry, I said this before, the industry is big enough for everybody. It doesn't need to be a competition. You don't need to have firms against other firms and trying to score points and win one over. We all just need to work together. And I think if we can do that and make these changes, I think the industry would be a much warmer, environment for everybody if we all kind of help each other, I guess.
Yeah, good point. We're pretty much at the end of the podcast. I just wanted to ask one final question, and I'll ask everyone to have a say. And it's really just thinking forward to 2025. We're at the end of the year. It's a time when we all start sort of reflecting on how the year's gone and what the year ahead has in store for us. Other than winning an award or two, as I'm sure all of you on this call are hoping to walk away with a trophy or two in January, what are your aspirations? What are your dreams and hopes for next year? Could be personal, could be business related, could be industry related. If we were going to be transported 12 months into the future and sitting here on the podcast at the end of 2025, what would be the one thing you would hope you have achieved, your company's achieved, the industry has achieved? Peter, if I can come to you first, I'm just going to go in order of how you are appearing on my screen. So Peter, what's your dream?
Oh, you've caught me out. I think I would like the market to be more consistent. We've seen lots of ups and downs in 2024, a lot kind of mirrored by what has gone on, I think, on our own economy and political stage as well as the world stage. I think I'm not necessarily saying that I want to run off our feet. That would be nice, but I think just more consistency month on month to be able to run the business. And I just think on a more world hand-holding basis, just a steadier country and actually getting people out of poverty and more recognition for our sector and the ability to help people with what we do.
Really good point. And something the later life lending industry can do very well if only more people knew how, which is all about education. So there needs to be a brand that promotes education of consumers, Stu. We should think about that. Sam, I'm going to come to you. What's 2025? What about for you?
Yeah, I think moving into certainly by the end of next year, from a personal point of view, happy with everything that we're doing, more than happy with everything that we're doing, as are kind of people that we seem to speak to. So I don't kind of want us to change anything there. I think what I'd like to see from a wider point of view is, where possible, to be more of a common sense approach for lenders and particularly with funders. I think at the moment, and I don't know whether John kind of can agree on this, but I think sometimes there's too much of a reason why funders and lenders may look at a case and think, why shouldn't we lend on this case? As opposed to, why should we lend on this case? I think there needs to be a blanket approach from lenders, which is that, look, is there a risk to the business? How are we going to get our money back? If you've got a client who's got a property value of £500,000 and they want £50,000 out of there, but, it's close to a pylon, or, there's a cracked window in a bathroom or something like that, do we really need to, I had a case recently which was essential repair because there's a cracked window in the bathroom, and it's like, well, that's just ridiculous. We're on a 10% LTV here. Is the property not going to sell because there's a cracked window currently in the bathroom? We need to kind of, I think, have more of an approach like that, where, it's more of a risk-based approach. If the LTV is good, is there a couple of issues here, there, and wherever? Yes. Is it going to affect our saleability of the property in the future based on potential roll-up of interest if it's roll-up, and what the LTV would be at the time? No, there isn't. Okay, well, let's help the client. I think I'd like to see more of that in 2025. Definitely.
Fabulous. That sort of kind of ties in a little bit to Peter's point about consistency, I guess, and the market just being a bit more sort of consistent in the way it approaches things. John, you are actually next on the list. So do you agree with that? And what other thoughts have you got for 2025?
Yeah, I do agree with it, especially having worked in the mainstream world as well. I think that we've got a bit of catching up to do there with taking a bit more of a pragmatic approach. But I think sometimes it feels like we could be a bit guilty of hiding behind the term subject to valuers comments. I absolutely hate that term. It's like it just follows us around like a bad smell. I get it. I understand why it's there, and I understand that there can't be that level of commitment. But I think what some lenders do better than others is take a bit more of a look on things, put it through an underwriter before they put an application in, because there's a lot of work that goes into an application. You know, you're making a recommendation to someone, and I don't know how many it is. I think I heard the other day, maybe 1 in 4 are coming back after they've gone to application for one reason or another. So we need to try and improve those numbers really to get some confidence for the client, because otherwise it makes us look bad. We've got a really hard job of managing expectations for the client, and you don't want to be that glass half full mentality, but it is kind of the nature of where we are really, I guess. In terms of 2025, hopefully the foot can come off the brake a bit. It feels like that we're stalling a bit, and you feel like there's a bit of progress, and then you feel like you're kind of going back a step or two. From me personally, just more of the same, I guess. I'm really proud of my contribution over the last year. Obviously, recognition with an award would be lovely in January, but it won't define me, and I'll continue to keep pushing on. And yeah, hopefully it's lovely to be recognized as someone that might be making a contribution, getting a pat on the back for what you're doing. So yeah, hopefully we can all continue to make a positive kind of change in 2025.
Thank you, John. And Kaitlyn, the final word actually goes to you. We've lost a few people along the way who've had to dip out. Unfortunately, they've got some pesky day jobs to do. But Kaitlyn, it's great that we're ending on you, actually, because I think it's fantastic that we've got an award newbie on with us, amongst others that we had on the call earlier. But fantastic to see new talents and new people coming on and being recognised for the great work. So other than hopefully winning an award in January, and we do wish you all the best, what are your thoughts and feelings about 2025? What do you hope comes next?
Just to say, first off, I love being recognised as a newbie. I think that name is brilliant. But on a more serious note, I think it's nice that the kind of remaining people on this call are different backgrounds, because obviously Peter, Barton, and then John and Sam are advisors, and then I work for a lender. So I think it gives a different perspective, because it is definitely, I agree, the stability. It's been a challenging year for everyone, and trust me when I say, I know I don't deal with John or Sam directly, but we do try our best from our perspective to try and push cases through, challenge the funders as best as possible. There are obviously limitations to that I acknowledge what Sam said, and we're trying our best from our point of view to get the funders to see our approach to it, because we do take that feedback on board, and we do push them as hard as we can. There's just definitely some limitations that are above my pay grade, but that's what I'm hoping for next year, is to see that consistency, that stability, and just progression, and just to see that innovation still come through as well. Obviously this year we launched an ISM product as well, so all of that innovation, especially within the market, is just, I think, better for customers in the outcomes. So that's, from a work note, that's what I'm looking for. From a personal note, I'm doing some wedding planning. Got engaged in October, so that was exciting. So thank you. So that's what next year is going to be for me, hopefully in addition to winning one award.
Fabulous. Well, it's been fantastic having you all on the programme today. Really enjoyed your input. And there's some great views, some great thoughts shared. Nothing too controversial, I don't think, but it's always great to hear from everyone. We do, of course, wish you all the very best of luck, and we can say that without gritted teeth, because none of you are against are against us in our category. But good luck, one and all, for your awards in January. And yes, and thanks again for joining us.
Yeah, thanks everyone. You've been brilliant. Thanks again.
Thanks, bud.
Thanks, everyone.
Cheers.
Cheers, bye.